We've been in the customer service industry for more than 65 years combined. Amos and I created this podcast to share our thoughts on how you can navigate customer service. And while we don't always agree, and I often have to explain to Amos why he's wrong, we hope that you will be the winner based on our experiences working from the inside out.
Bob, it is so good to see you and to come to another show. I look forward to kicking your ass again. How are you, man?
I'm doing well, sir. Life is busy, and it is almost springtime. So we're getting that smattering of 60-degree weather in Memphis that makes you wish it was all the cold was over, but it's not.
No, no. I do have a topic that many people care about, and I want to talk about calling a 1-800 number. So, uh, Bob, you've heard me say this before. I still remember, I think this was Memorial Day of either last year or 2 years ago, and I needed to talk to my mortgage servicer.
Uh-oh.
And as I get on the phone call, I literally have to have all the kids leave the room because profanity was going to happen. Just navigating.
There will be blood.
There will be blood. So I as a human being, and I'm going to pray about it to be better, cannot call 1-800 numbers in front of young children. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, you do know what I'm talking about. This is the press 1, press 2, you're talking to this machine, customer service, and the thing can't understand you, and it's just mayhem. Now, before you accuse me of being negative again, I admit there's about 3 out of 100 of them that are decent.
Well, at least you've been realistic. At least you're being realistic.
Right. So maybe 3 out of 100 are okay. But I am now saying if only 3 out of 100, an unscientific survey on my part, is any good, why don't we ditch this entire press 1, press 2 talking to a machine deal and go back to a time where I could just speak to a human being? Surely you agree with me here.
I do agree with you. I think I will. I agree. I hate them. And my story would be for the 25 or more years that I've been. You get on a plane, you sit down beside someone, and they say, what do you do? And you say, I'm a consultant for contact centers, and you know what's coming, right? You know the worst customer service story you can possibly think of is about to be shared. And
Yes.
and I would say 50% of the time there is some mention of the fact that I had to talk to a machine. I had to talk to a robot. I had to talk to that voice thing. I hate that. I had to press 1. We started off pressing 1, 2, 5, 7, 27 hot. Then we moved to talking to a system that most of the time doesn't understand us.
Right.
And now, we could do a whole show on the reality of chatbots and how that's now the gateway to getting service.
Yeah. But I guess I'm saying that given that no one likes it, as soon as you introduce yourself, Bob, my next door neighbor, if she needs to call, she comes and grabs me, right? Because she tells people I'm the customer service deal. So why don't we just get rid of it? Let's just get rid of it. We agree for once. Let's move on.
Well, okay, so I always try to take you accuse me of being the man, and you're for the consumer.
Exactly.
The opposite is true. I'm for the consumer. I just want to try to explain to the consumer how we got into this mess.
Okay.
And how we got into this mess is that it saves money in theory. In theory, now I sat in front of when we were in the contact center world, and you would sit in front of somebody who's trying to sell you that technology. They talk about how it's going to save cost and
Right.
it's going to make you more efficient and all of those
And it does.
positives.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that's true, but what you're talking about is really the frustration that the customer has. And
Yes.
I don't understand why we don't do something about it either. I don't understand why we know when we set up an 800 number, when a company sets up an 800 number and they set up this system, they know that it's a barrier,
Right.
and B, it's hated. Now, let's go to the why. The why is,
But before you even get to the why, what's the failure rate? What percentage of people start with these machines and end up getting out? Like,
well, UJAT did a survey in 2022 that said 78% of consumers are forced to connect with a human being after failing to resolve
I,
their
I,
needs
re-
on an automated channel.
I rest my case. More than 3 out of 4 get on this journey and go get me out of here. Like, if any other thing, if your car had a 78% failure rate, you will never drive it. Like, why are we still doing this? Go on, defend the man about why we have to have this.
No,
Just
I'm not going to defend the man. I'm going to share with the consumer that's listening how we got into this mess. So
all right,
it was about trying to get the call to the right person. So I've got a call center. You're going to
right,
call in and you're going to ask me about your printer.
right.
I need to get you to a different person than the
Mm,
person who's at Canon, for instance. I need to
okay,
get you to the person who knows about printers versus the person who knows about video cameras versus the person who knows about the camera. So the intentions were good, but the reality is that then we tried to make the system answer questions.
right.
And I would submit to you that there are, let's go back a little bit, but there was an industry that did this well, and it was the
Okay.
banking industry
Ah,
because it was
okay.
transactional. It
Yes.
was
What's my
what's my balance,
balance?
right?
Yeah.
It was what's my balance. Well,
Right.
what's my balance is pretty specific,
Black and white.
but I need to talk to somebody about my carburetor is a little bit more less specific, right?
Right.
In other words, you
Right.
you can't buy stocks over the phone without talking to a human if you don't understand what stock you want. And I
Right.
think we tried the organizations tried to put all that into a pot and stir it and make it work, and it just doesn't work. It just doesn't work. Now, again, the cost, it means that we're going to pay more for it. So if I have somebody answer the phone, hello, this is Canon, how may I help you? Two things are going to happen.
Mm,
Number one is the cost of the Canon items are going to go up because that's expensive. Number two, you're going to get transferred all over the place because they're going to try to do the work that the system is doing. So I'm not, again, you're always throw the baby out with the bathwater guy. I'm just saying, let's leave the baby in the water. Let's see if we can warm the water up and take some of the dirt out and not try to make it do everything.
okay. So I get it. Paying people to answer phones and what have you is expensive. And we have to do this because we've got to save the company money. It is unclear to me what Joe the consumer gets out of the deal.
I would submit to you that Joe the consumer gets nothing out of the deal other
Okay.
than
Okay.
paying a little bit less for services than they would pay and getting very, very frustrated. I just I don't think it has ever been, despite what our industry,
Right.
our contact center industry, our companies want to say, I don't think that it's ever been really about offering a better experience,
It's
about taking care of
efficient.
customers.
You,
It's always
you,
been inwardly
so
focused.
so it's about we save money and maybe we pass some of it to you.
Well,
Okay,
and
fine.
maybe we don't save money in reality. That I
Right.
mean, 78
Right.
percent. We just had a statistic that said you're actually just ticking off the customer and not doing anything.
exactly. They're all opting out anyway. So, all right, it doesn't sound like on our little show, on our customer happiness show, we're going to solve this thing today because we can't influence all of these brands. So, let's help our consumers here on our way out. These things are not going anywhere, right? The
Nope.
cost is too much.
Nope.
So,
Nope.
how do our listeners, make this thing a little bit better? What tips, what can they do if you're going to have to deal with one of these things? How do you make life a little bit better for yourself?
So I just went through this the other day myself. I was trying to get to the right person, and it kept asking me, would I like to do A or would I like to do B? And I went, representative. And it went, well, we'll be glad to get you to a representative if you will tell us whether you want us to send you to A or B. Representative. Okay, well, as soon as we can figure out what you want, we'll get you to a representative. Would you like A or B? Representative. And I just sat there and said representative until it finally gave up and gave me a representative.
Representative.
The same thing happens with zero. Zero companies have eliminated zero somehow, but some
Right.
haven't. So
Right.
when you get it, just press zero and see what happens. You have a chance of getting to a live person. And then one other, behind the scenes, I probably shouldn't say it, but I'm not consulting to a company who's doing this. I'm consulting to consumers is press the button that chooses the option for sales. So if they give you an
Yes.
option for sales,
Yes.
press
Yes.
sales.
Yes.
Because you know why? Because they want to talk to you about sales. If you're a new customer, press the button that says new customer because they want to talk to you. Unfortunately, many times more than they want to talk to their current customers because they want their current customers to go through
It-
the whole
Bob,
IVR. By the way, for those of you out in radio land, an IVR stands for interactive voice, uh, either IVR, interactive voice response, IVU, interactive voice unit. It's called a bunch of different things, but
it's the
that's the
press
technical
one,
name
press
for it. That's
two.
the reason why
That's
we
the
say
that's
that.
the machine you're talking about.
Yeah,
Bob is so
yeah.
spot on. In my book, Waiting for Service, I talk about this, and I think it's not because companies are bad people. It's because I already have your money. Me hurrying up and talking to you doesn't increase the bottom line in any kind of meaningful way. In fact, it costs me money. But you, that I don't have your money, if I don't get to you quickly, you might go give the money to my competitor. So yeah, those are fantastic tips, by the way. And I'm glad Bob is saying it. I still have to work as a consultant, so those are great tips. Bob, we're running out of time. Um, let's let's leave folks with some words of wisdom on the way out. Mine is, I believe it's a Chinese proverb that says like the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The next best time was today. And I say that to say, I know this IVR thing's been going on. We can start today eliminating them or building those good ones that people actually want to use. What say you, Bob?
My quote is a little long today, so
Yeah.
sometimes one can become lost in a big company and lose sight of how one does truly help or impact the customer. So that's what we've been talking about. And this is a quote by an IBM project manager that said that if you're one of those, think of a fire brigade, a
Mm,
line of people passing buckets of water from one to another for a source of water to the side of the fire. So an individual in the brigade may not be able to even see the end result, the water being put on the fire, but the contribution of the individual is indispensable to the outcome. So hang with me for a second. This is going to be a stretch, but the IVR, the chatbot, and the robot and the voice prompts, think of them as just another thing in the brigade that you've got to get through. And
mm.
if you play the game, if you press the right buttons, if you say the right words, you will get to it. A lot of times, you will get to a better answer quicker if you can make the system understand you. But let's also come together and say, I hate them as much as anybody. And what companies need to do is build better ones. What consumers need to do is to demand better ones.
Agreed. Agreed. Bob, this was it was good talking to you. At least we were on the same page here, helping people today. And for those of you listening, please, 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 the best way to support our program is to like, share, leave comments, so that if you're enjoying this, other people can enjoy the show as well. Bob, good to see you, man.
Good to see you too, Amos. Thanks a lot.